Hey everybody, this is Room 360 on the go, and today actually we're not on the go. We have a very rare day today in El Paso, Texas. Every year we get one of those days, a snow day, kind of the El Paso way, and that's what kind of happened today. It was really cold, and we were having snow flurries all day, which is a part of a national storm system that's moving through about half of the country. I think that we who are here in El Paso, we are at the edge of this storm, so we are gonna get some of the effects, like cold weather, as in cold temperatures, and some snowflakes. But for us here, a little bit of snowflake is enough to shut down the entire city. So that's what's happening today. So I kind of wasn't sure if this was an appropriate video for the channel, but I figured maybe that it is, because a change of my life situation kind of affects the channel as I'm moving from one phase of my life to another phase of my life is gonna affect the channel. So I figured just to let you guys in on this. So it is amazing how time has really gone by quickly as I am getting ready to close the chapter on my military career, specifically the Army. As of right now, I've been serving for 23.5 years, and I'm scheduled to retire on June 1st of 2025, which will bring me up to exactly 24 years of service. So yeah, so I'm going to be retiring and moving on to bigger and better things. So I thought that I would take a moment just to reflect on 4 main points that I've learned. Well, I've learned more than four points throughout my Army career, but I wanted to highlight the following 4 points which I've learned throughout my Army career. And I think that it's not just limited to the Army, but these 4 points can also be applied through life. So let's start with the first one. So the first point is this: show up. Whatever it is that you have planned for your life, whatever it is you want to do, first thing is first. Show up. There's a lot of things that I've done in this lifetime I've planned for. I didn't think I would be able to make it happen, but there were goals of mine, there were wishes of mine, and on day 1, or some of you day 0, when I had to start the project or start the first step, first thing is first, you must show up. Even if you think that you don't have what it takes, first thing is first. Show up. It was almost the same thing. Well, not almost. It was actually the same thing when I started my Army career. I showed up every day at basic training. I didn't think I was gonna make the. I just didn't think I was gonna make the cut that day, but every day I woke up, the task that had to be done, I showed up. Even though I did not think I was gonna make it, I showed up. And you know what? I passed every single one of them. Some I've struggled more than others, and some I failed but kept trying, and eventually I passed. But I showed up for every challenge. I showed up for every event. So here I am, 23.5 years later. I'm getting ready to close this chapter of my life honorably, with an honorable discharge, and at the rank I wanted to retire at. So every day I showed up, and there were things I was tasked to do, I succeeded at doing. Also, there are things that I was tasked to do, I failed at, and I learned from it. But every day of those 23.5 years so far, I showed up. So I think it's a valuable thing to keep in your toolbox whatever you out there, you Zoomers out there, have what you want to do. When it's time to show up, show up. The next point that I have for this video in terms of advice for success in life, I would say, or just life advice, I would say, you can't win unless you are willing to lose. In my lifetime, I've met a lot of poor people / unsuccessful people. I've also met some wildly rich / successful people. And you know what I noticed about those people, at least the many whom I've spoken with and kind of know them, kind of know their backgrounds? I noticed that the ones who are unsuccessful, they're very, like, they've never lost, in terms of they've always been very careful. They don't take risks. Like, you know, they've never lost a dime, sort of. But while I've noticed that the ones that I know were successful, they've been duped a lot, lost a lot of money, took a lot of risk. And they're the ones who are the most successful. And reflecting on my life, man, I mean, being like, especially being the kind of person I am, I've taken a lot of risks in this life. I've made a lot of moves in this life that were so, like, wild, unguaranteed, but because I took them and I happened to succeed at them, I took leaps forward in my life. But throughout my path, I did lose. Like I've won the war, but I've lost a few of the battles from that war. So, but with every battle I've lost, I would win the next one, or the next two, or the next five, you know, because those were victories that I couldn't have gotten unless I was willing to go through that one failure, that one loss, you know. So I kind of realized that in life, whatever you want, you gotta be willing to lose to get to it. Like, if you're looking for a yes, the yes is out there, but you may have to go through 20 no's till you get that one yes. So are you willing to go through those no's to get that yes? Now, I'm not sure if this is accurate, but I remember a long time ago, I watched an interview with Kevin Hart, who's the comedian, and he said, and that was a few years ago, you know, just as his career was really taking off, he said, a lot of people look at his career from the last 5 years of success, of his success, but they neglected to look back at the 20 years of no's, the 20 years that no one wanted to work with him, 20 years of him having to do small gigs just to survive. So imagine that. Like, within 5 years of your life, you have a lot of success, but to get there, you have to go through 20 years of no's. So that's the same thing I've learned from my life through serving, through the army, is that for you to win, you truly have to be willing to lose. So think about that. The third thing that I wanted to talk about was relationships. The older I'm getting, the more I'm realizing that relationships are very important. And it's not limited to family relationships. I'm talking about friendships. You know, as you move through your life, you're going to come across a lot of great people, a lot of bad people. Without the bad, but create and maintain relationships with people, because as you get older, you are going to need them. Though though people do it, but we weren't meant to be islands. So as much as you can, cultivate relationships. Okay, if you know somebody who hasn't stayed in touch with you, but you know each other, don't complain why this person haven't called you. You call them, okay, and attempt to maintain as much relationships as you can, because in this lifetime you will need it, especially as you get older. The fourth point, which is supposed to be the last point, but there's another point that just came up into my mind that I must share. So let's change that from 4 points to 5 points. So the fourth point is this, is that, and the sooner you realize this point, I think, in your life, the better off you'll be. Because there's a lot of things that we know, but it doesn't necessarily mean that what you know has sunk in. Because there are a lot of things that you know, but then you behave as if it hasn't sunk in. For example, there's a lot of things that we do, like, people that we hang out with, is because, there are certain things that we know better not to do, but then we still do them because the importance or the point hasn't really hit home. And the point that I am glad that it hit home, though it hit home in my late 30s, early 40s, but I'm still glad it did. I wish this sunk in my 20s or even earlier. But like, it's hard to realize this too when you're young, because when you're young, like, for example, that a day will come when that you'll die, but it's like, it's so far away, you don't really care about that. You like, when you're young, you're like, you expect tomorrow to come, but what my 40s have been hammering home with me is that, man, time has gone by so quickly, especially if you're busy, active, doing stuff. Time has gone by so fast, and it seems to be going by even faster, because we're on the 9th of January, and it seems like 2024 was like yesterday. And just looking back at my career, the first 10 years in the Army was kind of slow, but the second half went by, like from year 11 through year 23 and a half now, like that. So you think you have time, you really don't. You blink, you'll be 15, you blink, you'll be 18, you blink, you'll be 25, you blink, you'll be 30, you blink, you'll be 45, you blink, you'll be 50. So I hope this sinks in. And the only way that you will know if it sinks in is by what you do. If you're still entertaining BS, like hanging out with BS people who expose you into BS stuff, like stuff that will cost you badly, it's because you don't realize that you don't have a lot of time. Because like, from the group of my friends who realize the same thing that I've realized, I'm telling you, we move differently. We don't entertain BS, man, because we literally understand that we don't have time for it. So if you're a Zoomer, I think I'm going to start calling you subscribers Zoomers because of Zoom 360 on the go. So if you are a Zoomer or someone who comes across this video and you're young, I would say below 30, I'm telling you, the sooner this sinks in, the better, because you're gonna start moving differently. You're gonna start taking more proactive, you will become more proactive towards your goals, trying to accomplish what you need to accomplish, because you understand that you're only passing through this earth. You don't have a lot of time, and you want to leave a legacy or something, or do something, or be remembered, whatever it is. You're just not gonna have the time to entertain BS, like arguing with people over silly stuff, hanging out with the wrong people. You just want to get your stuff done and go. And I'm thankful that this sunk in, and I think my early 40s. I think about between 40 and 42. I think this sunk in for me, because I've always known that there's a time that's gonna come when I will die, but it really sinks in now. I really don't have a lot of time, and you know what? It feels great, because now it's like I'm just, there's a lot of things that I used to give importance to that just didn't matter. I really really realize that now. So I move past it. There are some people who I stop entertaining. There are some arguments I just refuse to get into because it's a waste of my time, and it feels great because now I'm in a position where I'm really maximizing my time. So the closer you understand that, the better it will be for you. Last but not least, there is a book that I read a few years back. It's actually a very short book, small book. It's a yellow, small book. It's called As a Man Thinketh. And there is one line from that book that stuck with me, and I'm going to share it with you. And serving in the Army has really reinforced that with me, because I've seen it day in and day out by dealing with other soldiers, subordinates, peers, and superiors. You are not going to get what you want in life. Sorry. Okay, this is what life has taught me through serving through the Army, and of course before then too, but the Army really drove it home for me. And I think life after the Army will continue to drive this home. You will not get what you want. However, you will get who you are. So what does that mean? That means ask yourself what you want. And whatever that is, chances are you're probably, there are exceptions, but you're probably not the type of person that gets things like that. What does that mean? That means now you have to mold yourself. First, find out what kind of people typically get what you say you want, and identify the characteristics that those people have that help them to get into certain positions to get what they have, which is what you want. Chances are you don't have those characteristics. That means you need a mentor, or go to class, or learn how to become that person. Only when you become that person, then you will get what you want. I remember when I first joined the Army, and then I was in basic, and then there was a non-commissioned officer that walked in, and I looked at his rank and I said, that's the rank I want. That's the rank I want to retire as. And it stuck in my head. And I remember the way that non-commissioned officer was talking, the way he was moving, walking around, his characters, his character, his attributes. I'm like, man, I want to move like that. I want to talk like that. I want to behave like that. I want to know things like that. And as a private going through basic, I had none of this stuff that this non-commissioned officer was displaying the first time I saw him. And even throughout my entire period doing basic training, going to AIT, I mean, we spent both times. And this non-commissioned officer was around me. And everybody like him who had the same rank behaved the same way. And I was like, I want to be like that, like the people who wear this rank. And little by little, once I left AIT and got in my first unit, my second unit, gradually I allowed the system to mold me into what I needed to be. And as I became more and more molded, I started moving ranks to match the new me and the newer me. When I became a E5 sergeant, It was the same thing. It was a process, and I look back and I look at me as a private, and then look at the sergeant that I've become, and I kept going forward. And at the time when I pinned that rank, I was like, I looked back and I looked at myself, I'm like, wow, I move, talk, behave, know the same things that non-commissioned officer knew back in the day. I've become the reason why, well, there's many reasons, but one reason why that I achieved that rank is I became the type of person that would gain such a rank. Because for you to gain that rank, you have to be a certain type of individual. So in life, you will not get what you want. I've heard a lot of different other versions of this. I think this one is the most accurate. You will not get what you want. You will get who you are. If you want something and you keep getting the opposite, is because you're not the type of person that gets, there's something in you that you're missing in order to get that thing you want. Until you find out what it is, change it and switch it to be the kind of character trait that will facilitate you to get what you're not gonna get it. Why? Because you're not the type of person to get that. So I thought that I had to squeeze this one in there, because I know at the beginning I did say that I have 4 points, but it turns out to be 5. So yeah, I'm retiring from the military. It's gonna be, I think that the greatest days are still ahead. I think it's gonna be fun. As much as I love the Army also was part of the reasons why until the last 2 seasons I couldn't post weekly, is because I have duties and I have stuff I gotta do outside of YouTube. So I think the plus will be that now I have time. Like, you know, my life will be more predictable, more stable for me to put out weekly content. And, you know, hopefully soon, maybe start posting twice a week. We'll see. But I think that this is a video that I should post, because it still falls into, like, you know, get up, get out and do it, as I will be going to do and pursue other goals and stuff like that, you know, things I had to put on hold because of the Army. So yeah, it's been a great, I have no complaints about the Army, and I know it's not the same for everybody who served, because, you know, we all have a different tour of duty. But the only regret I had with the Army is that I didn't join it right after high school. I kind of went a little bit different, like, you know, because after high school for 6 months I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I went to Job Corps for 2 years, and then I joined, and then I joined the Army. So yeah, so I can't believe it. I think I might do one more video about retiring on June 1st, which is the first official day when I'm on the retired roster of the Armed Forces. I guess I'll do that then, and I'm gonna try to include probably some videos of my retirement ceremony, which will be small, you know, just because I'm not doing one with the post, I'm doing one with my unit. So yeah, so stay tuned. If this is your first time, if this is your first video, or I'm sorry, if this is the first time that you are watching this channel, this is the first video that you've come across. This is a road trip channel / adventures. The movement is get up, get out and do it. We've been having a good time. I'm glad that you showed up. Now that you have, go ahead and click the subscribe button, like, subscribe, and share, so that you could join us on our next adventures, which are coming up really soon. I have 2 big ones this year, and I would love you to hit the road with us when we are choosing to hit the road. So yeah, so this is Zoom 360 inviting you to get up, get out and do it. Like, subscribe, and share. Hit them out.